Hi y'all, it's Jen, and today I have my review of The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh. To start out with a brief summary of this book, this is a loose retelling of 1001 Nights, where the main characters in here are the boy king who takes a wife every night, and by dawn of the next day, she is always dead. Shazi volunteers to be his next wife, and she is determined to survive the night. And she does end up surviving the night, and she learns a little bit more about what is going on and why all of these wives end up murdered the next morning, and she actually ends up falling in love with the boy king. This is a YA fantasy novel. I would say it's a good mixture of both plot and character driven, because the plot does move fast. However, you do get a lot of backstory with the characters. You really do end up really liking the characters in this book, or wanting to know what happens to them. The boy king, Khalid, is a very likable character, even though you don't really want to like him, because he does come off as cold and standoffish, and he's supposed to be this murderer. But you really kind of get to see a side of him that you can tell he's that way because of what's going on, and because all of his wives end up dead and everybody hates him. The whole city is up in riots because he's killing all of their daughters. But once he opens up and you start seeing a little bit more of his vulnerable side, he's very much a really likable character. I really fell in love with him myself in this story, the writing in it, his thoughts. You just want to wrap your arms around this poor, broken soul and just hold him. So I really did like him as a character, especially towards the end of the book. Then Shahrazad, she is a very strong, very opinionated, very likable female character. She doesn't take any crap from anybody, including the king, and I think she probably feels a lot like, what does she have to lose? She's supposed to be dead in the morning anyway. But I really enjoy her spunkiness, her sassiness. The way she's written is very well. Even when she starts to fall in love with him towards the end of the book, she doesn't get that lovesick, whiny, annoying characters that a lot of the female love interests end up taking on. She doesn't ever have any of those characteristics. Even the side characters in this book are likable and well written. Her handmaiden and the cousin of Khalid, they're all very, very likable characters and very well written, and most of them know what's going on. They know why the king is killing all of his wives by dawn the next day. They're in on that secret, and with that, they're all still rooting for Shazi. They want him to fall in love with her, and they want him to feel that love that he doesn't get because he is hated by everybody, and nobody gets to know him because they're dead the next day. So I really am excited to see where this goes, where this ends. This book left me with such a book hangover. I am still processing it all, still waiting to really wrap my head around this book before I jump into the second book, which is The Rose and the Dagger. Now, the writing style in this book is good. It flows very well. I mean, even from the beginning, you are kind of wrapped right into the story, because it starts off on her wedding night immediately, right before she meets the king, and then it just kind of pulls you along through each of the phases of them getting to know each other and the storytelling and, you know, everything that's going on. You get pulled right into that. There wasn't really a lot of dead parts to this story. There was always some kind of action, some kind of interaction, exchange. There's a little bit of some mystery in here. It all flows very well. Usually fantasies are hard for me to get through, and I was able to pick this up and read it right along. The world building in it is really well done, although you kind of already know a little bit about it because it is that 1001 Nights. It has the Aladdin, you know, we all know the story of Aladdin. So the world and the setting of this book is fairly well known already. There wasn't a lot of world building that had to be done, even though it is a fantasy story. I do want to read a quote from the book, or a small passage from the book, just to give you an idea of what the writing style is. It's not a huge spoiler in it. It happens about halfway through. She is still alive, and like I said, the side characters are all pulling for her to make it through the night. So, and to make that connection with Khalid that he so desperately needs. Such a wizened old man in so many ways, and such a little boy in so many others. You know very little about me. I know very little, and I still know more than you, Khalid John. I know love is fragile, and loving someone like you is near impossible, like holding something shattered through a raging sandstorm. If you want her to love you, shelter her from that storm. Jalal rose to his feet, straightening the insignia of the royal guard at his shoulder. And make certain that storm isn't you. That's really kind of the theme of this whole book and this whole love story between them. You know, that really kind of wraps it all up into one short passage. Would I recommend this book? Absolutely. Especially if you like fantasy, or if you like retellings. If you like the Aladdin story, 1001 Nights, this is a very good representation of that. It does have diverse characters in it. Obviously, they are all that Middle Eastern, Arabian ethnicity. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. It is almost a 5-star read, and I probably will reread this book myself at some point down the road. It is just very well written, and I really enjoyed this story completely. And like I said, if you enjoy fantasy, if you enjoy retellings, or if you enjoy that 1001 Nights, the Aladdin, the Arabian Nights, those kind of stories, definitely pick this up and give it a try. Again, it is The Wrath in the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh, and I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, be sure to like it, leave me a comment, let me know what you thought about this book if you have read it, or if you're going to pick it up and read it, which I highly recommend. And that concludes this review of The Wrath in the Dawn. Until next time, bye!